What is going on, everybody? Hope you're all having a good Monday. It's been kind of a hectic one for me. Been up since 5, moving, still not even close to done. So probably going to keep this show a little bit shorter than usual. Thought I'd talk through this NBA slate real quickly. I'm not playing the slate because I've got too much stuff going on right now to be able to play it. It's a nice big slate, a lot of different options, but and we have the value that you need to have. Like that, this Ryan Rollins, you can assume that's going to be 80%, assuming that he does in fact start, which I think he will. If that hasn't been, I don't believe it's been announced yet. Anyway, so I think you're starting your builds off with Rollins. I didn't have time to go through and do any builds myself, but I'm just going to put my cores up here. I think you want at least 2, probably 3 from Milwaukee in just about every lineup. It's a great matchup, obviously, and with the guys out, I think that you got to be overweight, like not overweight, but you got to have at least 2. And I think I would go 3. My favorites being Rollins, Portis. And I think that you could make a case for Lopez at a little bit lower ownership as another interesting way to go. In terms of spending up, the obvious, like we can get to Luka, assuming that Luka does play. I think that becomes like your basic build. And I like Shea in this matchup. The problem is I just worry about the blowouts a little bit. So I like Luka, and I think it's interesting to get a little different with Wembanyama at low ownership here. I think you could definitely make that case. 11K, obviously expensive, but certainly has the ceiling. And at this low ownership, I think you could actually get Luka Wemby lineups in there and get some pretty low ownership on it. So kind of like that idea. I also think Embiid is a little bit interesting at 96. So those would be my favorite ways of spending up. I can't really run any builds because like I said, I'm not playing anything. I didn't enter anything because I don't really have that much time today, but thought I'd talk through it anyway. And then we'll talk a little bit of NFL in just a minute. I am playing the NFL slate, so I'll get to that. But I like that idea of the basic build, the 2 or 3 from Milwaukee, and then I think you can spend up for Luka and Wemby if you wanted to. There's enough value out there where I think it makes enough sense. You got Naz Reid as good value, Bobby Portis. I mean, he's more expensive, but obviously great play tonight. You've also got the Keyshawn George thing. You could take that shot if you want to. I think I would lean more towards Gary Trent over that play, but either way, you definitely have enough value to spend all the way up. And I'm kind of surprised the ownership isn't reflecting how good the plays those really are. Like I said, Luke would be my favorite. But I don't really know why anyone wouldn't be spending up at least for 2. But I think that Embiid is really interesting, and I think Wembanyama against Embiid is really interesting. I think both sides of it certainly have their merit, and that would be probably the way that I would start my builds, would be trying to get Luka in one of these other spend ups. I told you my favorites because of the ownership, Embiid and Wembanyama. Embiid really might have a big game tonight, and I think this ownership this doesn't seem right. So maybe you do go with Embiid. It makes it a little bit easier. You got a little more breathing room. You're using 21,000 of your salary between Luka and Embiid. In that case, with what I think is good value, I think it makes just plenty of sense to go ahead and just plug that in. That makes that's the way I would be treating this tonight. Obviously, if Luka's out, we have to have a different conversation. Obviously, if Trey's out, we have to have a different conversation. But as of right now, I have them just as questionable, and we haven't got that news yet. Sometimes we get it right as we go on, so it might have happened in the last few seconds. I've only got my laptop right now, so I'm really, really scrambling here to try and get whatever I can out there, just because I wanted to make sure to not leave you guys hanging. I know Sheets did a couple of preview shows, and I don't think a whole lot's changed that much other than we have the crazy Ryan Rollins value. I wasn't able to watch those either because like I said, I've been moving all day, and we'll be doing it all night, and probably we'll be doing it most of the day tomorrow. And then it's just going to be a wild time. So I am playing the DraftKings, and usually I upload these just for our site members and whatnot. But this is where I'm at in terms of captains. I did want to go a little bit contrarian, and I do worry that Green Bay is going to just absolutely blow the doors off of them. But I kind of like the idea of getting a little contrarian and playing Gendry Miller. I think there's still enough upside. The price is, not ideal. It's kind of hard to justify, just like from a logic standpoint, playing him over Jacobs as a captain. But I just think if you want to get different, that is probably your best route of doing so. I also really like the Romeo Dobbs idea as captain, so I did get to quite a bit of that as well. You can see, though, it's pretty heavy Green Bay focus, which is where the ownership's going to be also. But I do like that I'm getting different. I'm below the field on Jacobs for no other reason than just that I can't, play a 50% owned captain with, while I'm playing 41 lineups and expect to be able to differentiate enough. So that's really why I'm going there. I'm considering adding something in the flex, though. I want to do something with, I think both backup running backs for Green Bay are pretty interesting. And I'd like to get some exposure there at very low ownership, both Wilson and Brooks. and neither of which are getting much ownership at all. So I'm going to apply that. I'm going to rerun the Sims and see where it leaves us. Guys, if you don't mind clicking the like and all that, we usually are going to have better shows for you than what I've got today. But like I said, we're all sort of working on a funny time crunch. It is the holidays also. Had to leave, got to go back up there to go see my family. It's just a lot of stuff going on, but hey, it should be fun. And as you can see, one thing I did do, I put the minimum down to 41,000. I could see leaving a lot of money on the table tonight. I also think kickers and defenses are more in play than usual, especially the Green Bay defense. But I also capped it at 49.5, just to be a little bit different with my build. So let's rebuild and see what it leaves us with. And anybody has any questions about either slate, the NBA or NFL, please drop them on in there, and I'll be happy to answer them as best I possibly can. I may have to run in just a few minutes as the movers who are helping me are probably going to be out of here soon. I got to get settled up with them and everything. So really, really winging this one. This is not the best product of what we usually do, but I did want to make sure to drop in. I don't know where Rody left off with the how he's doing in the best ball. I'd like to ask him, Rody, if you're in chat for any reason, please let me know. I have to catch up on all of our Discord stuff because again, I've been on the move all day, so I'm really, really well behind here. So anyway, but it's a nice big slate for NBA, and I think it's a good slate to get different with the NFL, and that's why, like I said, I wanted to get to some of these weird low owned plays because I could see Brooks and Wilson potentially getting a little more love than they usually would, especially if this game gets out of hand. So I think that I wouldn't captain those guys, but I certainly would play them in the flex at really, really low ownership. I think that's a good way to get different. So we're going to run through this. I'm going to run the Sims and see where it leaves us right now. For what it's worth, guys, I am using Sheets' projections. I usually use Sheets' or Goldies. That way I get different from the regular Saber Sim builds, and only the TrueDFS members have access to this. So I would really encourage you guys to take advantage of especially for the NFL stuff, because things change too much in NBA. So you can use them for your first builds, but like they're not going to be updated fast enough to get everyone right before lock every time somebody's out or anything like that. But it's great for NFL. So I really, really encourage people to use Sheets or Goldies projections, and you could use you could try it with both and see what you like. Either one is I think completely viable. Take a quick look in the chat here. I'm trying to juggle about 500 tabs and see do I like Jacoby Walter for value. So let's get back to that's back to the NBA. I didn't get into the Walter deep dive very much. Nothing about it looks good to me, to be honest. I do like that Walter occasionally can have games. I just think there's so many other sources of value. I don't see that as being something that's viable for me. But we have just plenty of other stuff. Like you've got, I would rather play Drew Smith and Gary Trent and Naz Reid, and they're all like the same price and obviously project better. They'll obviously have more ownership. But yeah, if you wanted to wing it with one Jacoby Walter lineup, that's okay with me. Unless there's some new news, I'm just gonna double check the NBA Twitter because sometimes things come out right as we go on air. I don't think that there's anything new that I missed. We do have no Dean Wade today. Sam Merrill is available, so not really much to do with that, anything there. RJ Barrett is still questionable. So if RJ Barrett is out, then I think you can talk about the Walter play. I don't think I want to do it right now. That would be my best way to answer that question. I think it just doesn't, just with all the other value, it just doesn't quite make enough sense for me to play Walter on this type of slate. I'm going to jump back over to NFL and see what the builds are giving me. I did put, again, I put some little Minimaxes stuff. I did cap I changed the price range, as I mentioned, from 41 to 49.5. Happy to leave like 6,000 or 7,000 on the table in some lineups. See, that's what you're getting without the Sims, is all the Josh Jacobs. And then once we run the Sims, my guess is we're not going to have nearly as much of the Josh Jacobs. I think it's going to probably end up in around the 15 to 20% range, just knowing that how much the Sims are going to try to differentiate you and take into account what you're playing, et cetera, et cetera. If I was playing just one single entry lineup, I think I would just suck it up and just play Jacobs. But for this stuff, I really like the idea of differentiating a little bit. And you can see I'm getting some, Kendry Miller's sub 10% as a captain, Romeo Dobbs sub 5%. I wanted to make sure to get a little bit of the receivers because they're going to have to throw the ball some. And did I get to any Spencer Rattler? One lineup with Spencer Rattler. I think we could go a little bit higher than that and just take a shot. There is some rushing upside there. He's a gambler. So I like the idea of maybe getting to just a little bit more of that. We're going to rerun the Sims here. And then let's see what we're doing in the flex. Yeah, as you'd imagine, pretty heavy on I don't know why we're not getting more. That's actually a little bit worrisome to me. Why are we not getting more? And let's just see the flag. it literally blocked out Josh Jacobs. That's really weird. I think you got to have Josh Jacobs 40+% at least. Apply that. We'll run the sims again, and let's see what we're getting to. Yeah, it's going heavy on the Miller play, which is probably the most viable play from New Orleans, but I think we could mix in some Rattler, mix in some MVS, mix in some Juwan Johnson. Juwan Johnson might actually even be a little bit better than I'm giving him credit for tonight. So, yeah, it's going real heavy on the Miller for me. But, hey, I'm going to trust the sims. I'm going to trust Sheets' projections, and I'm going to trust my little rules and the players that I wanted to get some exposure to. Let me just see where I ended up with Wilson. 9%, 9.8%. And let's see where we ended up on Brooks, 14.6. I like those guys as a way of getting different. And it is going to be one of those slates where I don't think it's going to be the highest scoring showdown slate we've ever seen for what it's worth. It just doesn't seem that way. And that's why I'm willing to leave some money on the table. Bain questionable. There's a lot of questionables in the NBA. It's really just staying up to date. Make sure you're using the late swap. Even if there's not much information you've gathered from how your teams are already doing, it's so important because once that ownership comes in, then it can it'll allow the sims to do their work. And the late swap, tool over here is so awesome at SaberSim / TrueDFS. So I would encourage everybody make sure to take full advantage of it. Dylan Brooks just got ruled out. That's going to make some of the this is why I can't play the slate tonight, because I have to be on my computer all the time, and I have just too much work to go do with this move. The big move, actually moving cities too, so it's like a kind of a hectic one. Moving in with the girlfriend. So we're going to see how that flies. We'll get the Houston starting lineup and everything, but my guess is that Amen Thompson and potentially Jashawn Tate or Cam Whitmore might be viable. I'm kind of curious. Let's let the sims do their thing and figure it out. I'm sorry, let's let the projections do their thing and we'll figure it out from there. But this looks pretty good to me. I feel pretty good about where I'm at with this game, and just going heavy on the Kendre Miller. And I like the Dobbs play quite a bit as well. That was another one I didn't force in because it was giving it to me anyway. But I think that's the other one that I could talk myself into, along with Christian Watson at low ownership and Spencer Rattler. So that's where we're at. I'm going to save these. It's a little weird that the min destination ROI went down so much. It's a little concerning. I didn't change that many things. I added a little bit of the Brooks and the Wilson. That's pretty much most of what I did in the flex. And I added obviously the chalky, good chalk Josh Jacobs. I think that you just need the raw points. He's going to put up double-digit points, and that's going to be as good as just about anybody tonight. So save the contest. Sometimes I have to double-click it. If you ever notice that if it's adjusting afterwards, make sure you double-click it before you upload. And we are going to edit the lineups we have. You guys already know how to do this, but in case you don't, here's a quick little reminder. And there we go, 316. And that is where we're at. All right. Any questions before I get on out of here and get back to the move? Anything out there for you guys? I got to just finish up with these guys soon. Hey, Merry Christmas to you, Project Mayhem. Good to hear from you. Merry Christmas to everybody. We're not taking it off, by the way. We'll be back with it tomorrow night. We'll be back at it on Wednesday for Christmas for football and NBA, and it should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to the slates, and then I'm gone the 26th for my vacation. So I'm excited about that. Going down to Mexico. Gonna really take a few days off, and debating if I'm going to be able. I have to enter my lineups before I go down there, so debating if I'm going to be able to play. But I will still be here with you guys and trying to do shows when I can. Maybe won't be playing much myself, but will give the best I can. The best advice I can based on the information that I have. So thanks to everybody. Happy holidays to you and your families. Good luck tonight.